Okay, well, it's 7 o'clock, so we'll try to get the meeting underway today. Get a move on here. Do we have any public comment today? I'd just like to extend a welcome to our visitor from the Scout today. If you have any questions, please feel free to let us know.
All right, will do.
Somebody's running in. Who's it gonna be?
That might be Addison. I think he's
Yes.
going to watch tonight.
Nope, it's Alex.
It's Alex. But I do think he's coming.
Wonderful. Well, moving right along, since there's no other public comment, we have the look to approve the meeting minutes from May. Everyone have a chance to review the meeting minutes? Would anyone like to make a motion to approve the minutes? We have a motion. Would anyone like to second to approve the minutes? Motion is second. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Right, all opposed? Wonderful. Meeting minutes.
$90 a night.
Nope.
It's a fancy
Yes, we
joint.
have the financial report. Do we have any highlights that we needed to have our attention drawn to? I didn't see any big changes on it.
There's nothing really that popped out or stood out. There was one, but I had talked to Greg about it. There was a high mowing cost. And just a question for him of why that specifically was such a high number.
Any other questions on the financial report?
And it could just be because of the budgeting part, how Phil spreads them out by month versus exactly the session. Playground mowing, 7,300.
That's actually not high compared to the rest of the year. It's just a borough, but.
So do we have a motion to approve the financial report? And we have a second.
I'll second it.
All those in favor of approving the financial report? Say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Wonderful. Financial report passes. So on to the committee reports. So over to Kristin here. What playground updates do we have?
Well, I had a short, sweet one, and then Randy told me to expand, and now it's 2 pages, but I'll skim it. So it's been great. Our first week was last week. Everyone loved it. Great feedback, nothing but good feedback. The staff was well prepared. The kids were well received. They loved it. Very few hiccups, even as far as like sign in, sign out. Like pretty much everyone was on the roster. We had circus week, so we had a lot of activities. Lots of kids. It was a little lower last week. There are a lot more. There was Spartan Hoops Camp last week, so it's a lot more. I was talking to Erin right before I came tonight, and she said there are a lot more kids this week at the end of that. But we've also been getting a lot more enrollments. People are calling and asking to late enroll, either in evening or that didn't sign up at all and want to join now that they're seeing how it's going. So enrollment is great. Parents are liking the Facebook group. We started a Facebook group, so we have some that's private. We have some screening questions, so we cross-check that with the enrollment information, and then we put pictures in there, updates, and people are really enjoying that, like seeing that like real-time posts from Erin and Nikki in there. The kids are actually responding really well to the structure. We weren't sure because some kids could like to do their own thing, but there's room for that too. So everyone seems to have found their groove and they're doing well. We have a newsletter that goes out every week. We've been getting donations, snacks, and they made a list of the items that we use the most, games and craft items and things like that. So we had a sign up Genius for that, and we've been getting a lot of donations from families and things like that, which has been really nice. What else? New this year, we're doing a lot of cross training as far as the playground staff and the tot lot staff, and then we're also swapping some of the counselors between Happy Hollow and the Hills so that they can kind of go everywhere as needed. which is gonna help with vacations and coverage and things like that. We're enforcing the park closures during the program, which we've never done before. So that was a little tough the first couple of days, but now we've got the signs and people will know. And the biggest issue was the basketball court at the Hills because it's not right there in the thick of it. So really people didn't know at all. But Brandy's been coming out big when that's really populated and everyone's been really cooperative and now word is getting out. So that's not been much of an issue. And I was hoping to just get some feedback or recommendations if anyone has them. We want to start doing staff incentives. So like if we see someone doing something like really well, because we've set the bar pretty high this year as opposed to past years. So we were hoping to do like gift cards or
Wawa.
something like that. Yeah, so we're gonna buy some, but if anyone, knows of a place we can get them donated from, that would also be really nice. But we're gonna buy some, like gas and food and all of that, but, we were hoping
What's the
to-
denominations you're thinking about?
Just like
Okay.
$5, like just little, but like if we see them going like above and beyond, that's kind of the thing we wanna, yeah. Yep. But yeah, that's it. We were a little worried that, there was some overshadowing initially, but with the age change, but that's like old news now, and everyone is just really, really positive, and just the feedback from parents and kids, and it's just all been really good, and I think Randy said the same, like, usually every event, there's something negative, but I've not heard anything negative. Like, people stop me on the street. A lady came up to me at her neighborhood happy hour, and she's like, are you the one that posts on the Facebook group? My kids love it so much. I was like, yeah, that's me. Like, she was like, they are just loving it this year, so I think,
Kristin could literally read, because she sends me screenshots of texts that she gets from parents. And
Yeah.
every day, if I get 10 voicemails, 8 of them are from parents saying how great the program is.
Good.
And I hate to step on what you're saying, but yesterday after our 4th of July meeting, we talked about playground specifically. And Rick was 100% right that my fear of failure with the playground, because I didn't know anything about it, you guys remember that. That was one of my biggest initiatives that I wanted to make sure we made a big dent. I wanted us to go to 10. And Rick's comment was, you went to 10, but maybe you should have gone to 7 or 8, or maybe even lower, and not put so much stress on yourself, Kristin, Nikki, and Aaron. I don't think the parents or the kids see any of the stress that's going on, and it's things from making copies, formatting Excel worksheets, and redoing them because I messed them up, because that's not my specialty, to ordering supplies on Amazon and sweating whether it comes in on time for the themed week. And it's, nobody sees that, the nightmare part of it that's going on behind it, but it's the growing pains of trying to make this the best day ever.
yeah.
And if you remember, that's what the goal was from the very beginning, was for parents to say that Johnny came home and said, oh, it's the best day ever. And Aaron and Nikki have actually heard that. And so from the participation and the kids, the smiles, if you guys haven't, like you have kids in it, you have kids in it, if you go and talk to anybody, you're gonna hear nothing but amazing stuff. And Kristin, Nikki, and Aaron have done a tremendous job with it.
We had made mention about last night, I'm not sure if you had a chance to look into it at all, possibly making like a rec tour of just what's happening. So I'm not sure where we can go or what that would look like to take the rec board to either of the playgrounds, just to walk them around and get them more in depth for everyone who's not seeing what the playground is doing.
For ease of not having to advertise, it would be great if we could separate into groups that do not constitute a quorum.
Perfect. That's exactly what we need. So we need groups of 2.
That was on my note, just Michelle.
Right?
3.
3 at maximum. So if you are interested, we can try to get groups of 3 at maximum, so we'll have to advertise a meeting just to see what more it's like and what they're going on logistically for it. But I mean, I know that there have been long hours from not only yourself, but also from Nikki and Aaron, so it's very appreciated. It has been noticed. You know, my takeaway, and just reiterating what I mentioned to Randy, you know, you guys have really hit it out of the park. It seems like we are sprinting full speed, and it seems like maybe we should have found a walk here first for that logistics.
Well, it's like we had the bar like here, and then we would like have an idea, and then
And
it's
those are-
really easy to be like, well, if we just
If we
do
just
one
did
more
one
little
more.
thing, and then I mean, Aaron and Nikki have far surpassed anything that I ever thought that they would.
I don't want to tell you guys to stop doing much,
Leaps
because it's
and
been great
bounds,
so far.
yeah.
But keeping
Mhm.
everyone's
Yes, yeah,
mental capacity in
Yeah.
mind, what we can do.
yeah. Week 1 is under our belts, and now I think we are aware of our my midnight Excel spreadsheet sorting. TJ was like, no more of that. So now we don't do that anymore. So we know. but we're good. Yes. So we have our do-betters for next year, but I think we made more progress this year than I think any of us thought we would. So and we're here today, so which is good too.
Wonderful. Any other
Yeah.
comments for the playground committee? Okay, moving on, pool committee, Mike, what you got for us?
Well, when the pool opened, I met with Randy, and we were there before it opened, and we greeted the guests, the pool members, and said hi to everybody. We sat and we just observed. Randy took some pictures for social media, and I've been poking in, and last week was a little stressful because of senior week. But Chris actually made it work. He actually sat in rotation a couple times, guarded the pool, and he's walking around and he's making sure everything's good. He's trying to get the staff, trained to look at the bathrooms and pick up trash, stuff like that. We had a meeting last night. Me and Sally Kate couldn't make it, but just Randy asked us to try to figure out what's needed for 4th of July, stuff like that. Chris has a lot of ideas. I asked him to send me a list of what he needed. He didn't because he's busy, and I think he will. He wanted to talk to a couple other people, but Sally.
Yeah, I was just gonna say,
He knows what we need, and he's
yeah,
probably told.
and I talked to Randy enough, I can, after the meeting, I can go, just a very specific thing, like go look at our t-shirts for
Yeah,
use
that's
for
fine.
one of the days, but, yeah, he seems to be doing well and.
I'm impressed.
Mhm.
Like, good choice, Randy, hiring him, and he seems like he has really, there's a lot that he doesn't know, but he wants to learn. So I'm impressed with that, so. My report.
Wonderful. Any other?
Discussion on the 4th of July games.
Pardon me?
On the discussion of the games, you guys come up with a list?
We came up with a list. Chris has some ideas of his own, of things that he did at other pools, but yeah, basically, yeah, we're good.
Wonderful. Any other questions for the pool?
Just a quick update about the pool. This morning, Steve from Public Works called me. If you remember, we have a third party that does the concession stands at the pool. Steve goes in there at 6 o'clock in the morning, they clean the pool, they get everything set for the day. He called me and said that there was a bunch of mistakes or hiccups with the concession stand. They didn't clean up. He opened the door, he showed me around. I took pictures, pointed them all out to Joe McDonald, who was our contact at Full Service, and he said he would correct them all right away. So the feedback from everybody is the food's amazing, but this morning, like I said, the cleanup wasn't great on their side. So, but Steve's very happy with what Chris is doing on the cleanup side.
Wonderful. Thank you for the pool report. I guess the 4th of July isn't on the committee report, so that's just into the director's report then?
Yeah, we didn't have that meeting, so I guess I can update when I do the director's report.
Perfect. Report away, Director.
On the financial side, there were 11 total rentals for the last month since we last met, but a lot of those are free. Those are Girl Scouts, Boy Scouts, things like that, where we don't charge for weekday rentals. So although there was a high number of rentals, the income or the revenue generated was lower. Have received no fundraising money since then as well. As far as memberships and money driven from activities and memberships, you see what they were. As far as events, Memorial Day, a big thank you to everybody who helped. The fire department, the police department, Borough Council, Jerry, the young kid Tyler, who everybody probably met. I'm not sure if everybody saw it, but we were on national ABC News, which was phenomenal. They didn't say Wyomissing, PA, but in the 3-minute segment, they showed our parade the entire time. That you saw the participants or the parade going down the street. They called us a rural, small town in Pennsylvania. I talked to Tyler today, and throughout his interview, while they came there to interview him because of the events. He said that he kept plugging everything and they edited it down, and he questioned it later, and they said, yeah, we can't really let you promote things on national TV. So, kind of a side note from him, there were 37 vets at that event. He has 58 coming for 4th of July. He just went to Normandy with 12 of them. One unfortunately passed away since Memorial Day. Because you gotta think they're 97 to 106. But the guy got his last wish. He wanted to do that. So that's very touching. There was a great turnout, and everybody who was there can attest to it. They were still learning things. That being the first time I'd ever done it. And like I said, I'm appreciative of everybody, but parking, the drop off, War Memorial, the area, the cutting the grass, the flag at half staff, a podium, the flag folding ceremony. So there were a lot of learning things that will all be addressed going forward. But overall, talking to people who were there and watching people during the remembrance ceremony, and if you guys remember, this was an event that was going to disappear, that we weren't going to do it anymore. And from the feedback that I got from people was, this is great, loved it. I mean, I got teary-eyed during the remembrance ceremony. I get teary-eyed all the time.
But I think that's just a real strong comment to everybody here. I mean, this was a parade that we talked about not doing within the past 2 years. And now I think everybody can't imagine us not doing it going forward. So I think that's a really strong, job well done to everyone here. So thank you guys for all your hard work across the board. It's really appreciated.
The Independence Day Parade and celebration, kind of go over it in order. July 3rd is the Moonlight Swim. We've met with the fireworks company. The Moonlight Swim is going to run from 8 to 9:30. PAs with public announcements leading up to that, asking people to be out of the pool area. I met with Ethan and the chief of police, and we've cordoned off exactly where people have to be out. Chief Phillips has an area where all the barricades will be set up for road closures, so we're all set on the fireworks side.
Can I add one thing to that? If we don't get rain between now and July 3rd, those fireworks are not happening. It's not safe because of drought conditions and how dry everything is. So I was talking to a member of council this morning about getting notification out. That final call will probably be made by next Friday, for the simple fact of you'll see the extended forecast by that point to determine whether or not there's rain. So if it looks like there's a possibility as of next Friday that we're canceling, I would suggest we put something out on social media channels as well as notify ROG, and maybe instead of doing a rain date, do a dry date of, later in the summer, maybe coordinate it with Labor Day weekend, something like that.
Okay.
For like the end of the summer pool
Yep.
party, and there's the band and stuff, that'd be a fun night too.
ROG is funding that, by the way. Midnight Swim, I told you, is from 8 to 9:30. The pool sports at 9:30. American Dreams is the theme for the parade right now. We have about 28 participating groups. I met or talked with Denise, what's her name? Greenwood. I talked to Denise. Unfortunately, she was leaving town till July 1st. And, you know, you guys know well more than I do that you don't mess with things when they're not broken. And that's kind of how her conversation was with me. I didn't want to step on her toes. She said, Randy, I've been doing it forever. You can send me a list of everybody who's going to be in that's registered. But she said, for everyone that registered, there's going to be 2 people that show up that didn't register. They're all going to be in the parade. We went over her staging map and she explained to me how she does it. I don't understand it whatsoever, but it's how she does it and it's her thing, so I'm leaving her alone. We met last night, we talked about some things that we can do to be proactive, making some signs, the tent with the registration, handing out the buttons, things like that we can do that aren't really getting in her way of you go next, you follow her, you go then. So for the most part, she's doing that, and you guys kind of told me that is Randy, it runs itself when it comes to the parade. So I feel good about it. I'm trusting her. You guys know me. I'm anal when it comes to those kind of things, so it's tough for me to relinquish control. But I know it's a live and learn. So the big change, and most of you probably know this, the Kensington String Band, the mummers are going to be there, so we're having to readjust the celebration part of it. There's some high expectations of how we handle this group, so we're kind of making some exceptions and kind of bending over for them, getting them here. It's privately funded. We're not paying for them to be here. They're going to march toward the front of the parade, and they'll be at the celebration. They'll be the welcoming band versus the Wyomissing band. The Wyomissing band will play after them. Traditionally they do, but the mummers are going to play first. As people all start gathering, they'll get up and leave, and then we'll start the celebration. So, the best decorated stuff, we went over it last night, ordered the ribbons today. So moving forward with that, but I need to try to find judges, which seems to be like a tough thing to get. It doesn't sound like it would be, but if anybody has a neighbor or a cousin, a sister that is going to be there and wants to judge the bikes or wants to judge the motorized floats, you know, please let me know. We need as many people as possible versus saying, Sally, you're going to judge the bikes, the scooters, the wagons, the large floats, the small floats, the marching bands, and that one. So anybody either wants to volunteer for that or knows somebody that can help us out, that would be terrific.
What are the, is it just does it have to be a borough resident, do you have age restrictions on the judges?
We didn't really talk about that. I mean,
I don't think
I don't think it should.
I don't think it should be a kid. Do you? I'm just asking, I don't know.
It was playground kids last year.
So could it be like, older kid, like seniors, 16 and up? I don't know. Seniors have done it before.
There's anyone here who really wants to be a judge as part of your?
or does anybody want to spearhead getting judges and take care of it? If we say we want to get 10 judges.
I could do that. Yeah.
Sally, yes. I would use that number 10. If we can get 10 people to be judges.
That's ambitious.
Let's say 4 is plenty for judging.
How many categories are
I
there?
mean, it's like.
Well, there could be tennis racket judging. Rick made it sound like that's a thing of the past, but somebody could show up and go, hi, I'm here for the tennis category. And because they decorated tennis rackets back in the day. And, you know, I think there was 8 that we talked about are publicized categories. But he said that, you know, and I see that. If it's happened in the past, I'm like, hey, what I'm learning is people remember everything.
Sally, there have been 2 judges in the past. 2 adults, for sure.
Yeah, I know there was like a teacher or somebody who did the streets because I remember him like talking about a house that was like on the corner, on the roof, off the roof.
Yeah, that happens ahead of time. Like they did
Yeah.
that last year at least ahead of time.
And talking at the parade.
In the morning, like
and
before
categories,
the
yeah.
parade, like he brought his clipboard over. I remember him. So I feel like for the street and like the route, maybe you would want adults, like multiple adults, but all of the decorated people are like all clustered. So I feel like if we just have a couple,
You just walk through.
they could just like.
But remember the staging is, there's 5 streets. It all
Yeah,
goes
but they're
down.
all
They're all
together.
It's all really
in a row.
close.
We were there last
If
year.
you can get whatever you get.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They
oh
don't have
yeah,
to be there
the
by
more the
whatever
merrier.
time.
And I feel like it's also one of those things,
Four is good, and you can have two.
it's also one of those things, you might have somebody show up and like, I'm here for the judging.
That's what we were
Like
saying,
just
yeah.
out of the,
People who
like,
judge
that
over
teacher
here,
might just like show
yeah.
up and like, hey, I'm here for.
Here's a clipboard.
Yeah.
I remember
Go.
like one piece of feedback I did get directly from a group last year was nobody came over to judge my group, and we were so excited about it, so I think, I would probably err on the side of caution of having a little few more people, just so we make sure we get everybody, you know.
Get little buttons that say judge, so people feel judged.
Yeah.
And I
During
agree.
that, during that time of,
Some gavels.
Shape
during
up.
that time of judging is when we've taken all those boxes and untwisted the flags and undone the boxes and getting them ready. And last year, council came over for like 3 or 4 boxes, they wanted to hand them out. And then we ran out of flags, it was very embarrassing. And I know every year we say, we're never gonna run out of flags, but we did. And I didn't know that Borough Council started handing out flags, you should probably think about that if they're gonna want to do that again. We didn't have any to spare, but we gave them to them anyway. So while people are judging, there are boxes and boxes of flags, I believe, unless they didn't come that way this year, and they have to be unpacked, unwrapped, and placed so that they're ready to go very fast. And so that's what I did last year, is I sat in the back of the truck and just undid boxes and rearranged the back of the truck. And it took like 4 or 5 people, plus playground kids,
Yeah.
not kids, playground leaders.
While you're doing that, we were handing out buttons when we went around to all the groups, handing out buttons and
But the flags can even be done ahead of time.
help with judging.
True, but it's just, they've always shown up on that morning in the truck and then we just
Get that
unpack
ready.
it, so, yeah.
They
Spare time.
can, but they can't depending where they're being stored, because I think they keep that on a trailer at the Public Works garage that they then drive over here, because there's nowhere else to store it outside, so,
And
Yeah.
they have to be unpacked ahead of time, it'll never work. Getting them out. There's not enough time.
I mean, for what it's
That's
worth,
serious.
I normally put an order in a do-si-do, pick it up on my way, and I'm at the Stone House at 8 with coffee and donuts for everybody, so it's kind of been everybody show up at 8 and get assigned your task and go do it.
Yeah, I think if we last year, at least for me, I had no idea where to go or when to be anywhere. So I think if we have like cohesion this year and everyone knows where to be and what their job is, I think that'll help a lot.
Well, then,
You can't get any
like
done.
today, I sent out the note asking who's
Yeah.
available, what hours, and if you
Yeah.
did something last year or years before, let me know, and we'll try to let you be that expert of that. But we talked about the specific jobs that we're looking to fill.
Well, I think just as a loose timeline though, so, I mean, if you're gonna be there earlier, anytime before like 8:30, 8:45, probably head towards the Stone House.
Yep.
Because everybody's gonna be walking up towards the information kiosk, and what's the corner where we have our little information tent? It's Wyomissing Boulevard and Cleveland. So Wyomissing and Cleveland is where we have our start of the parade tent, so if you're going up the going up the boulevard, that's where kind of our rally point would be to figure out where we go from there.
Yeah, and I'll send out a detailed list of what everybody's gonna do, or what we need to do, and as we get to that.
But also, I mean, one of the things about the flags that I talked to Randy about, because we did run out before we got back to the boulevard last year,
You did.
is we're going to have a staging area with flags at the end of the parade, so we're gonna have people just with flags, so if we run out beforehand, it's not the end of the parade, it doesn't have any, so there will be a number of them, and they'll be passing them out from the end, so hopefully, if the parade catches back up to the flag truck as it normally does, it
So
will
you're
be.
going at both ends.
So they're not really gonna be walking back up, because we have another vehicles, they're more gonna be, what do you say, on a truck somewhere, and then from the truck, they can just be handing out those flags, because you're not really running them that point in time, so. Hopefully, again, it was one of the things from last year, that we wanna make sure everybody has flags all the way through the end, so.
And you're thinking between handfuls, right?
Right, the other thing, just to make it quicker, before we were handing them out like one at a time, so we'll tell the people, like, give handfuls to a person to spread them out.
If you do that, people are gonna be.
It's not gonna happen. I know that you like to think
I
of
can
that,
work
and everyone is good that way, and I would do that, but they're not gonna do that.
Yeah, but rather than like give one to every single little child, like here's a family, like here's 5, and then we're gonna move down.
Okay, I'm gonna leave it there and go ahead and not experiment.
But I didn't hear what you were saying, I'm sorry.
The other thing, just handing out flags in bunches rather than to every person individually, so Kate's opinion is that that would not be conducive, that people are gonna hold on to those flags as
People
well.
want
and not
those
hand
flags,
them to
it's
them.
like gold, I have no idea what the whole situation is, but it is.
It was different.
Like,
You
and
gotta, we write on the dates out the flag every year, I got them like back to 1980 something.
Oh, you have,
Oh, because we
some kids lived at the top of Happy Hollow, so the bagpipes lined up right there, and we, I grew up, so that's like every year, am I missing? Did you, nobody else is with me? Come on,
No,
but
but
we
we
write
keep
the
the flag.
year on the flag stick, and so you
Right.
just, and it's fun, like,
Right.
it's like Christmas ornaments, you get out all your years.
But I also think that everybody hand it out because.
Like, some adults will reach over a child and take a
We
flag.
really have flags.
We just, I don't know, it's
Some
just
adults
like-
will reach over and take a flag in front of a kid. Kid you not, and then they'll say, may I have 5 of those, please, I have people on the porch.
If you hand a handful, I would just say, like, you have to say, like, please distribute to everyone gets one.
That's-
And just like do that, if you do it
But then
routinely,
with that,
where you
you see
say
what
that.
Those are the things we not
And
only
they're
did
more
at the
likely.
Memorial Day parade where we were handing out, because it was just 4 of us handing out flags, we could not.
Much
Do you
smaller.
need more flag volunteers?
So we
No.
will probably need more flag volunteers, but we also
Yeah, no.
pressed some of the playground leaders who didn't have other jobs into handing flags out.
Yeah.
At the same point, if you're just gonna if I just hand you
Oh,
a
yeah, I
handful of
totally get
flags,
it. I totally
you're
get it.
going to keep them, but if you say, hand these out to the people around you, that's how you get those flags handed out. So if you're gonna actively hand them to someone, hand these out to the people around you, everybody around them just heard that they need to hand them out, so everybody else around them is gonna get the flags. from
I
that
think if
person.
you say it like that, if you just give
Share.
someone a
Hand these
handful, I think
flags.
that's.
See, you get
Right.
your
A
man.
bit of authority.
Sharing is caring.
A bit of authority, like,
Okay.
like that.
But we're also not avoiding giving people flags. We should not be giving everyone who wants a flag. The point is, we need to move things along. We can't have the parade
Going.
hitting into the back of the flag truck.
But
And
does
this-
the flag truck not go ahead of the parade?
Oh,
It does.
it
It still
normally
catches
happens
up every time.
when you hand out one flag at a time to
It's
each
like we're
person.
slowing it down.
Every time the parade catches up to the
Well,
flag.
victories.
Oh, yeah.
What was the flag total, 13,000?
14. I
14,000
ordered
flags.
10,086, it'll be here Friday or Monday.
Like, it's
And I think-
thousands and thousands.
I think we'll have right at 14,000.
At some point,
It's expensive.
like, if you give me a handful of 5, I'm gonna give them to my kid.
Mhm.
I'm not gonna hoard them all.
Yeah,
course.
right, it's
Right, there are those people there.
okay, so flags.
So we have 14,000 flags, and if we run out,
That's a lot of flags, that's plenty.
One of the conversations yesterday were, in the past, I'm gonna call it concessions. It was the football team, the Boy Scouts / Cub Scouts, and swim team, who's not coming this year, by the way, she confirmed. And it was more of a hometown feel, that it wasn't, as Kristin put it wasn't big companies coming in and trying to sell and make a buck. People have asked me to come in if they can be part of it. I haven't asked any food trucks, I haven't asked anybody else. Last year, 2 years ago, I remember trying to get food and stood in line and got so mad that I couldn't get food, I got frustrated. So the question for the group is, do we invite other people in to have more food choices and faster and shorter lines to service more people, or do we keep it that hometown, small fundraising mentality? That said, like the cotton candy lady who worked and did the playgrounds, small time, she doesn't have a storefront, she's super small, she does little parties for people. I talked to her, because she said, hey, I would love to be part of that, that would be a lot of fun. She was amazing, great lady. More than likely, I'll use her versus the lady we've used in the past and other events. So it's something to think about. Last year, I guess Great American Creamery was there. Now, we have a relationship with her, but do we invite Kona Ice? Do we invite Great American Creamery again? Do you have more food choices? If you remember, that was one of the things I started because most of our events are always right at dinner time. Movies in the park, concert in the park. And families told me, oh, I can't stay because there's never any food. So we end up leaving because Johnny's hungry. So I wanted to have more food options at everything we do. So this kind of feeds into that strategy. Do we have more food options, and can it be food trucks and things like that? I've asked the swim team, and they're completely out there not doing anything. Right now, the only food is Cub Scouts, football.
I think
Swim
you
team
need more
hasn't done
food.
anything for for 12 or 13 years, because their fundraiser is right around the same time.
Who?
Swim team has, for 12 or 13 years, they haven't participated because of their fundraiser to meet.
Yeah,
And it coincides and we can't get enough volunteers.
yeah, that's what Pam
So
told me.
it's been
That's
over a
right.
decade.
Oh,
We haven't, because this is the 13th annual Wyomissing Wahoo Long Course Invitation. So since that's been going on, swim team hasn't been out down at the Stonehouse. They switched years.
okay.
They do let the Stonehouse up in December. And,
So do you guys want to have other people, more food? I would
It
think we
takes
would.
away from the scouts earning money, then no.
So I wonder
Or
if
whoever's earning money, I don't know.
there's, I think it would be great to have more food options, because you're right, it's a long line, it doesn't move fast, there's limited choices. However, I wonder if there are other community groups who would be interested in having a stand, but just because they traditionally haven't, or they don't even know about the opportunity, that they're not doing that. So that's, like, I think it would be cool to have some food trucks, but then like, my concern would be that then we're edging out some groups that might be interested. So it's kinda late notice this, well, maybe not totally, but it might be late notice this year, but I wonder if thinking for next year, we could reach out to like other community organizations that might want to have a food stand.
Again, are you saying nonprofits?
Yeah, nonprofits, like whatever organizations are within the community, even like some of the clubs that are at school, or I don't know what we're.
I think it's a great idea. I don't know if I could execute that and get somebody. If I called them up on the phone and said, hey, do you want to vend and be here on the 4th of July? Dude, that's in 10 days.
Right, yeah.
So I don't know if for this year.
And remind me, Randy, because you didn't circulate that concession sheet, so the Cub Scouts and the football are selling the same things as
Hot
each
dogs,
other, right?
hamburgers, Gatorade, water, barbecue sandwiches, and sauerkraut.
Well, and
hot
didn't,
dogs.
some churches, I feel like Bowsman Church, didn't they sell?
They used to.
I kind of worked
Wasn't
for a
last
couple
year.
years for that.
Bowsman used to have a whole thing.
They used to do, they're sort of tapped out, or volunteers too, but they sold like fruit
Yellow
bars or
shirts,
something.
they all wore yellow shirts.
Yes, yellow shirts.
And if you think about the Boy Scout and Cub Scouts, there's no desserts, frozen stuff, or ice cream or anything
And I
like
think
that.
for the point that we were talking about yesterday, right now,
Yeah.
the vendor that has to come in, so like, if we're looking at cotton candy, or if we're looking at Great American Creamery or Kona Ice, we invite, say, those groups of people in, they're all competing against each other.
Mhm.
They're not selling hot dogs and hamburgers
Right.
against our community groups, so the community groups still have that edge to the market. Nobody has said, hey, we wanna sell dessert, nobody still wants like chocolate covered bananas or ice pops or anything like that.
That's kind of how I feel too. I mean, Boy Scouts is not gonna sell cotton candy, so that's just a completely
But
different.
I think that it's a valid point to try to solicit additional community groups. So that just might be something, for us as a board to think about for next year. Anything else that you're in, or you hear about, hey, we're always looking for community groups to vend at 4th of July, get on the list. And I think that the groups that we traditionally have still have kind of first say. So if Cub Scouts and football still want to sell hamburgers, hot dogs, we want to try to avoid bringing in someone else to serve a hamburger and a hot dog as well.
I think you almost need more food options. That's gonna be hangry, hot people. That's not good.
Do you know, did anyone sell out last year? We never eat because
Well,
So
that's
why
what
did
it
I'm
gets so
saying.
angry, we stay for half an hour.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, we don't go down and eat,
We,
cause there's
like,
not much to eat,
yeah.
it's like you go
We
and
ride the
you
boats
do
and
the
we
boats
go
and
away,
you
yeah.
listen to the prizes and pie eating contest, and that's it, so it's not like, we don't go for the food.
My opinion would be have more food options.
How do we, like, I know we had talked about before, like, so if we have, I know that with your relationship with Kona Ice, like, they like, look at how much they sell and how much they make, and then they write like a check for the rec board to use for future recreation opportunities. I feel like with the community groups, like, having a community organization like a nonprofit, or like Boy Scouts, or, like those types of organizations, of course, we're looking for them to raise money for their organizations and their missions. But if it's a food vendor, I do think that if we're inviting you in with like 10,000, like tons of people, I feel like we should have something in writing about like, we're willing to have you come in, but in return, we're looking for this. And I don't know what that is, like.
I didn't bring it up yet, but I told these guys last night, and this is exactly what you're talking about. A lady has a face painting company. That's what
Right.
she does for a living. She goes to parties and events and face painting.
Right.
She emailed me and said, hey, I'd love to be part of your event. I have a great following. People love getting their face paint. What's your vendor fee?
Exactly, that's what I
And
mean.
we haven't set anything like that before, and that's another thing to talk about after we talk about food. Do we invite somebody like that?
Yeah.
But most places charge a vending fee to be part of your event.
I think
And Kona Ice is just used to it, so that I didn't even have to ask them, they just stroke a check at the end of their event. I haven't asked anybody else, and we have to put a policy in place to charge a vending fee. But all that community expects to pay.
I think there's there's a definite difference between a church or a nonprofit organization or, a school group. They wouldn't need to pay a fee, but if you're a business out for profit and you're selling, Italian ice, you're selling, whatever you're selling, like, I do think that our goal, obviously, we know we're gonna be operating at a deficit every year, but we wanna minimize our deficit, so I just feel like it's a win-win. They're still making money, and then our deficit is a little bit less, because you charge the vending fee. That would be my opinion.
So maybe we try for this year, see how it goes, and then we think about drafting that.
We can't, there's nothing in our fee schedule that allows us.
No, not to charge them, and then like for next year, we think about maybe that's something, because some of our events are growing, and maybe that is a policy that needs to get drafted over next week.
So let's circle back and make a decision on, do we invite more food? Do we allow the dessert guys to come, or non-competing with the fundraising? What is the board's opinion on what to do?
Do we have a place for them to?
Bless you.
I mean, we talked about last night to try to spread everything out, just like I did for, lighting the greens, because there's so many people, so if we spread stuff out, people are gonna wander around, like we talked about moving Wacky Patty to the other side of the pond.
But
Depending
yeah,
on
but there's all that space like along the pond that nobody really uses.
Like
Towards
to
the
the
tennis
like
courts.
opposite of.
Yeah, like down there.
Is there power down
No.
There's no power down there. So if the vendors need power, then
Yeah.
we're not running electric.
Like Great American Creamery needs power, and
Cotton
Cotton
Candy.
Candy Lady needs power.
So maybe you put your food vendors closer to the stone house. We don't have a gym.
We have a generator.
I mean, I think there's options if you get creative with locations.
And if we invite food trucks, they have their own power, we don't have to do
there?
anything.
Okay.
And I can tell you, it might be too late, it's a holiday, some trucks may not want to
Yeah, they
come.
might not want to.
And they might have already booked to do something else, but I wanted to try to get marching orders and how the board felt, rather than me just going out and doing it.
I think it'd be nice to have another savory option too, besides hot dogs and
Yeah.
hamburgers. That's like not
Like a
to have
taco
the
truck.
same thing, but
I
something
agree.
different. Like savory, hot dogs and hamburgers. I'm not gonna buy hot dogs and
Does the vendor from
hamburgers.
the
I'd
pool
buy
want to set
something
up
else
down
from.
Does what?
Does the vendor from the pool wanna set up down there?
I don't know, I know he has multiple contracts, I haven't talked to him, but he would be deep frying, and he doesn't, I don't know if he has a
Oh, okay,
portable.
okay.
Sausages.
What if we tried like one more?
Yeah, like for one, like keep it
Something
small
savory.
and see like what the response is, cause I feel like,
I think people now in the morning will eat there, but a lot of people are eating and drinking, and then they get there, or they don't get there. They
Yeah.
already had their breakfast.
They had a brunch, so they ate like late breakfast.
I would ask the scouts and the football team if they come away with leftovers, or whether they're selling everything. You know?
I was gonna
Get
say,
rid of all
I
their
can
food,
kind
or
of
they
add in
have-
on the scouts, because he's been doing it for so long.
Yeah.
Usually, by the end, we've sold out of barbecue and I think burgers. It's the hot dogs we have left over where we're giving them at 50% off, or you get to the point where we walk around and hand them out for free. Usually hot dogs are left, but most of the other stuff gets
That's what
sold.
I
like
So it's
quickly or.
barbecue, you said sloppy joes.
Cub Scouts did barbecue, hamburgers, hot dogs, and then of course they do like chips, drinks, sometimes watermelon. But I know the hot dogs are what is usually left and we're trying to get rid of.
Yeah, thank you.
So hold out, Randy, and there's a free hot dog in your future.
Yeah. The same thing happened at Memorial Day, they sold out of hamburgers, and then hot dogs.
Sally knows.
Yeah.
And they were giving away hot dogs at the end. after I paid for them.
You just got
They
pulled
went for
out.
good cause. So find a food truck that's not gonna compete against those two. Find another food option that's not gonna compete with those two.
Scouts is doing barbecue, watermelon, I'm looking at the sign up right now. Oh, that's all that's on the site, so the pack must be buying the rest of it. So then hot dogs.
We have permits to allow food trucks on, in our parks, I don't know why I
We
thought that
exempt ourselves.
for years and years we weren't allowed to have food trucks.
No, we exempt ourselves. It's under the temporary mobile vending unit section of the Borough Code. We exempt ourselves from our own requirements.
I couldn't understand that word you're using.
I like it.
They are permitted with any borough-sponsored recreation or nonprofit event.
Cotton candy lady,
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Kona Ice, American Dreamer, okay?
Can I vote on cotton candy lady, only if it's not the same one from Lady of the Greens, because.
Yeah, no, it'd be the
It's
lady.
gotta be Caroline, it's Baja.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
know,
Baja.
he said probably, I just wanted to confirm.
yeah. By the way, she has a
Definitely.
maple flavor
No one
that's
likes her.
unbelievable.
Okay, everyone
Okay.
was not happy about the Lady of the Greens lady.
Last year Patty needed help getting to her car after the 4th of July event was over, the balloon
See the
lady.
balloon lady.
So,
Patty told me she may not be coming, she's having severe mobility issues, she asked if the ADA project was complete, she's worried about where she was going to be able to park. I'm gonna talk to Chief Phillips and see if we can reserve a spot for her opposite the pedestrian bridge. And when I talked to her about that, she said, I wanna be there, I have to be part of it, I'll figure out how I have to do it, even if I have to find my own spot. So.
I walked her to her car last year just to make sure she was safe.
One of the things that came up last night is that we rely so heavily on the playground counselors to do a lot of the work. Some of the feedback I got from some of those guys is they don't wanna help. That they feel that they're taken advantage of on a holiday, and they look at it as, hey, it should be a day off. I don't wanna do this, and we almost mandated is how they felt. And in talking with Rick and Sally is they do a lot. And talking to Cooper, one of the best playground guys we had, he said he ran around like a crazy man last year and was exhausted by the end of it. When he wanted to leave, he couldn't leave. He was supposed to leave at a certain time and we kept him here. So, I'm not saying don't use playground people because, it's part of the tradition, it's part of being playground, I get it. But I don't know if we can, I see their point.
They get paid though.
Yeah, they get paid, but
right?
Yeah, but
they
it's
do.
more than their regular, like typically they work 8:39 to 12, and they're there from like
8
8
until,
till we allow them to leave, like it's not,
and they're not getting holiday pay.
yeah,
Yeah.
they're getting regular pay and it's not optional, and it's like not a day they can opt out, it's like,
Is it,
Part-time.
we have
We have
like.
no authority to give them holiday pay, they're part-time employees.
Like tasks that they all have to do instead of just kind of like doling things out on the day of, and that way.
I didn't even know that this was a thing, I found out about it and I was like appalled actually, because I thought we had a separate pool of kids that we had paid separately.
It's always been the redhead kids have done that since forever.
Can you do like a morning shift, afternoon shift?
That's what I was thinking,
Yeah,
like,
just
because
like
you
they
could,
yeah.
didn't sign up.
Yeah.
and
sign up
even
for
then
morning
Well,
they
the good
could
thing is what-
pick their, like if they wanted to be on like setup or like
Well,
later.
that's what
they have
we
some
talked about last
choice.
time, we haven't updated you, but we talked about getting a sign-up genius, setting it up, and you spearheading, because you said you would spearhead the playground group. And, give them what the tasks are gonna be and let people sign up for it, instead of mandating. If I was one of those kids, that would piss me off, that you're making me work on the 4th of July and pick up garbage and do stuff for you.
Do we even know what their tasks are?
I know at
Any
the Stone
idea?
House, they help with setting up the chairs. So at the Stone House is but to be honest, the past 2 or 3 years, there was a lot of milling around.
Well, that's
I don't know.
20 people
Need
standing
all-
there.
If they have a task, and
Yeah.
if they've chosen their task,
Clean up.
then there's
Yeah.
also a level of accountability, because when trash is, whatever's not happening, then you can say,
Yeah.
oh, Bobby, you are supposed to be doing this, can you please do that? And then that's like in their job, I'm assuming there's some kind of job review, like that's part of their employment.
I think that's one of the things that we need to do better to utilize them that day, and
Yeah.
not just, and not to say, hey, I see you're sitting there not doing anything,
Yeah.
here's what I need to get done, like,
Yeah.
to the point, lay them out, okay, we need some people here from 8 to
Yeah.
this, and you're gonna go, and you're gonna start and set up, and you're gonna walk through the parade. And then we're gonna need people, maybe that start with walking at the parade, we're gonna need you through cleanup, or we're gonna need you to
Run the pie eating.
run the pie eating, we're gonna need you
Yeah,
to.
because the kids are not good anymore at, and I apologize to parents of teenagers, but they're not good at looking at a situation and saying, I'm gonna take care of this.
They don't
Like,
come
they
from
really wait for you to say, you do this, and here's what I want you to do, do these 5 steps. Otherwise, it's just like the milling around, right?
Oh, okay.
Right, the milling around.
That's like sex.
It's not totally appropriate for them.
Well,
Like,
they
they
just-
don't, they're not adults, they don't see a situation and say, phew, but that's not how teenagers roll, so we have to tell them, this is what we need you to do.
Well, I think what I would like to do is work with Kristin,
Yeah.
we'll put out a sign up, we'll come up with all the jobs, the
Yeah.
timeframes, set up a sign up genius. They'll encourage participation, but not mandate it like we've done in the past. Hopefully we'll get kids who did enjoy it, that wanna be part of it. Like Cooper loved it, but he felt he got taken advantage of at the end of it. So.
We're gonna have the kids who really are excited to get a little bit bigger paycheck in the middle of the summer,
Well,
and they're
yeah,
happy
I
to
was
be there
just,
for 6
I was
months.
gonna say, I think the younger playground leaders who are in town, they really are hungry for the hours and will want to do that, but maybe some of the older ones are saying, oh boy, I really like the day off.
Or you should talk about the incentives, you know, like the $5 gift cards to whatever. You know, if you don't mandate it and you have people sign up, you could look at it and say, do we have enough to cover a $5 without advertising it? But on the back end, like, hey, here's a $5 thank you for helping us out. You know, it's a holiday, we can't give you holiday pay, but we can give you a $5 bonus gift card.
I guess
well,
my concern is if we don't mandate it and we don't get enough people signing up, because we do have those that are exceptionally motivated and then we do have those who are not, like there's equal amounts of both, and so I know we had talked prior about having that pool of people that were like on standby, and I don't know if those are the same kids that are hired for playground or if those kids never
Those guys never
were
replied.
hired, but.
There were 5 on the
Okay,
list,
yeah.
and none of them even replied to me when I
Okay.
reached out to them.
So I guess that's just my concern. If we don't get enough people to sign up, who is gonna do the job?
I would say you volunteer first, sign them up, because the volunteers, if I volunteer, I get my choice of whatever I want. But if I don't volunteer, and they know that like you could mandate, if you don't get enough volunteers, you will mandate. And then if you don't volunteer, then therefore you'll just get filled in
I
the
wouldn't
spot.
say that it's
No,
optional.
then
I would put it out like, sign up for what you want with the, and just don't say that it's optional. And then, you know, pick your, cause then it's just like, you know, encouraging you all to, I don't know, see how it goes.
See how many shifts you have basically, and just see the numbers.
Cause I do think you might, if it becomes like, it's an easy day to take off, right, I think you might then create a situation where they don't show up and then that precedent kind of grows.
Let's move on, and I'm not trying to cut it short, I think we have a good basis to work on, and we'll, because it's not just that, it's also decorating the wagon, and there's other things at playground historically as well. And
What
we
they
need
do.
we need to talk through.
Yeah.
With the kids.
Ahead of time, ahead of time.
Mike talked about the pool committee, is kind of spearheading the games at the pool with Chris, which is great that you guys are doing that, that's terrific. That's pretty much where I'm at with 4th of July. So I feel good where we're at, there's still a lot of stress that's gonna happen in the next week to 10 days, but I feel that we're still in a pretty good spot. Summer concert series, 6-9, we had our first one. The 101-year-old Wyomissing band was out front. They did, for a guy who hasn't really listened to them, they're actually really good. It's not my kind of music, but I sat through the whole thing. Rick, thank you for coming. We had a couple of council people there, you know, it's their kind of music, they enjoyed it, told me it was great. There were about 125 people when I counted, so I thought that was a pretty good turnout. The next one, the guy Richard D. Simone, is this Sunday. If you're a Frank Sinatra fan, he's one of the top 3 on the East Coast. He's amazing. It's on one of the best shows. I told him he can't hold his Jack Daniels or his cigarette though, because typically he would do that during his performance. And then you see the other ones that are listed here. Programming, I'm not gonna, great job on the committee report for playground. These are the numbers to give you a this year versus last year. This does not include us opening playground back up. We made a decision last week to not turn people away. The program has been so unbelievable that people are calling me saying, hey, Susie signed up for morning, but she wants to be part of afternoon now. Can I still sign her up? Hey, last year my kid did end up quitting and not going, but she's hearing so many great things, I want to sign her up. I'm really sorry I missed your deadline, but I want to be part of the program. Because we had that little negative cloud over us that we felt because of the tot lot issue, we talked about it and said, let's open it up. And talking to Aaron, Nikki, and Kristin, we have enough counselors that we feel we can cover it. We felt good about it. I wish I had a number to tell you that since we've opened it up on Friday that I could give you. I know it's at least 12 people have signed up since Friday that are new. It's new money for us, and these kids get to take part in it. But it also goes hand in hand with how terrific the program is. But those are the numbers. The biggest drop you see is top line. So those are those 3 and 4 year olds that don't get to go anymore. Full membership numbers. Talking to Kristin, she said this is right on line with previous years that we start out with a lower number and we'll get to that 402 or surpass it based on where we're at. Today alone, we had 374 visitors at the pool. And talking to Jada and Maya, who are assistants who were there last year, said that they feel that it's on par with the attendance so far early in the season. The first week we were open, we had over 700 people. And if you remember, there was 2 cloudy days, and one was super windy, that we had only like 42 people show up. So that was that first week.
What happened with Annie? Can you imagine?
Annie kind of is missing in action. She went to senior week. She's a girl who was an assistant manager last year. She's also a D1 soccer player, and her coach at UMass said, hey, I require all my first year players to report to camp early. She didn't realize that when she took the job. She has to leave, I think it's the second week of July. So we brought back another assistant from last year. Jada and Maya are our 2 assistants. Annie went on senior break and she hasn't answered a single thing. So I don't know that she's back from senior week or she stayed down at the beach. I don't know. So right now we have coverage. So. Tennis got started Monday. We had 15 participants in the first program. Swimnastics, there's 12 that originally signed up, but 2 people dropped out. They were 7 and 9 years old, and they went there and they were doing swimnastics with 72-year-olds, and they decided to transfer and they moved to the tennis lessons instead. Which goes to show, and we had this conversation in previous meetings, we need to revamp that entire swimnastics program. That we could get kids and moms and dads and people participate if we had an instructor who could cater to those ages. So I think that's a project for next year. Is maybe Kathy stays on and does the silver sinkers crowd, but we find another person who can teach a Zumba in the water or a mommy and me class.
Is that gymnastics, is it 5 days a week or is it?
Yes, it is 5 days a week.
all
Those ladies
summer.
get in every day. Sometimes they just go like this for an hour. I used to guard that. That was my favorite. Get all the gossip in the morning. It's dwindled a little bit, but yes, they do. And they are committed to that. That is their thing.
Yeah, I had a phone call today. I had a lady call me
Yes.
today that was 81 years old that asked if it was too late to sign up.
Yes.
Oh man, like see that's where it goes back to I adult lap swim. If you had gymnastics 3 days a week and you did adult laps to swim like 2 of the days, I feel like you would broaden your audience a lot of people that you're serving in the community. That
I
would-
agree. I think that the
5 days a week is a lot to have the pool for an hour and 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Right? Is it 10:45 to 12?
But there's swim team going on.
Oh no, I know, but that's the space for the
Well, there's
Other recreation,
swim team is
swim
wrapping
team
up,
and
swim lessons are going on, and swim matches.
Just from gymnastics have a whole lane, or they have?
They're along the
It's like a
side of
deep
the
end.
pool.
It's like a deep end by the slide, between the
Yeah.
slide and chair 4,
Yeah.
between the chair across the switch.
Yeah.
Swim lessons started on Monday, they had 36 kids enrolled in it in this first 2-week session.
And who's running that?
Kristin, the lifeguards. Yeah. So, that's the director's report. Any questions?
Wonderful, thank you, Randy. And then.
Oh, I do have one other thing. And this is a real quick update, this happened. As you guys remember, we put the hoops back up at the basketball courts. Coach Andrews from the high school called, and I got kind of snookered into believing that they could coexist, and they've done it in the past with playground. And I said, okay, that sounds great. I'm a big fan of girls basketball, Caitlin Clark, WNBA, the popularity, aspirational, let little kids, girls watch these high school girls play. They started last Tuesday. I got called to go over to kick people off. Coach Andrews sent a note out to the other 7 participating schools and gave them the rules that they all had to stay within a cage. They could put their chairs up, but they had to stay within the cage during the games, that they couldn't mingle the playground. Unfortunately, parents didn't listen. So while Susie was playing, Dad and his 3-year-old went to the playground, went to the pavilion, smoked cigarettes, didn't listen to playground leaders, and took advantage of it. The next day I called Coach Andrews, and he seemed very understanding why I couldn't do it. It put too much stress on the playground staff. We're not supposed to be we don't allow smoking, but yet people wouldn't listen. People would bounce and go from the slides to the pavilion. People actually sat down with some of the kids while they're doing arts and crafts, and so it became a safety issue, too much stress, so I called Coach Andrews and canceled it. And I believe they moved to the high school to do it. What I mean by they snookered me was he said they did it last year, but they did it in the high school because the air quality was so poor that they didn't go outside to do it.
Oh,
So
the fires.
it's never coexisted at the same time, where I tried to make it happen, but we couldn't. It didn't go over, my response or canceling it did not go over well with a couple of people who reached out to council and voiced their opinion, but we're not backing down. The safety of the kids during the playground program is first and foremost, and so that was the decision made. So if anybody asks you, that's exactly the reason. Safety of those children is the reason we had to do it.
Seems fair.
So,
Well, we pay a lot of money to get those FBI child abuse clearances for all of our summer staff to ensure that safe bubble around the program. And, unfortunately, it's the world we live in. It takes one person to go in and ruin that, and that's not a chance we can take.
sorry for that last minute.
Not a problem. Any other questions for Randy on his report? As we have no old business or new business, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Sure.
All right. Thank you so much, everybody.